What's up, world? It's your boy TNT back at it one more again with Try Nitro Reacts, and we're gonna be reacting to the dumbest internet trends people actually did. But trust me, bro. Make sure y'all go like and subscribe to the channel, and let's get this thing cracking. Yeah.
The craziest internet trends people actually did. We've all been there. It's late at night, you're on your phone, and you're scrolling and scrolling until you see a video on your feed that just boggles your mind. It's a video of a person doing the dumbest thing you can imagine. Then you quickly scroll away feeling truly embarrassed for that individual. But as you continue to scroll, you realize that that individual wasn't the only person doing that dumb thing.
I remember the
and
crate challenge, boy.
Scroll and scroll, you notice that more and more people are seemingly all doing this.
Dumb black people. Dumb black. Any white people do this challenge? Any white people do this challenge? I see none but black people.
Incredibly stupid task. You have just stumbled upon a dumb internet trend. Whether it was on TikTok or YouTube or Facebook, the moral of the story is the same. Someone does something really dumb, it gets a lot of likes and views because people are laughing at you, not with you, and people who are hungry for views and attention begin to do the exact same thing in hopes that they could also reach internet fame. I'm not gonna act like I'm a saint here. I remember being a kid and doing the Harlem Shake, hoping to go viral and be a part of cool Harlem Shake compilations. But today's video is not about the Harlem Shake. It is about internet trends that were very obviously dangerous and in some cases even deadly. And as always, this video is only going to get crazier as the list goes on. Let's begin. The Outlet Challenge.
Outlet
This
Challenge.
is going to be the most tame thing I talk about in this entire video, which is crazy because this first entry is literally wild. I don't know about you, but I was definitely a curious kid. And one of the things I was quite curious about is what would happen if I stuck something in the electrical outlet. Fortunately,
I never had that train of thought as a kid. Never, ever, ever. Because one, I watched In Living Color. And what was that damn dude that Jim Carrey played? The one that was always getting Fire Marshal Bill. He used to always say, don't you ever, ever take a fork in an outlet.
I never acted on this curiosity. However, I know a lot of people watching this video likely did. With that being said, I do think there is a bit of a difference between doing it accidentally or not knowing what's going to happen and doing it intentionally knowing exactly what's going to happen. Which brings me to the Outlet Challenge. Starting in the early 2020s, videos started circulating on TikTok specifically of people performing a prank where they would plug their phone charger into a wall, tight enough so it would hold, but loose enough so there was a gap, and then they would drop a penny into that gap to see what would happen. The outcome of the seemingly simple machine was, well, a homemade bomb. And that's not an exaggeration. Nearly every video of people performing this challenge or trend resulted in a massive flash, typically resulting in an explosion and in some cases a fire. I wasn't able to track down the exact first instance of this challenge or trend taking place, but simply by searching Outlet Challenge, you can see that this trend was making waves specifically among schools in America. If you had nothing better to do, you could literally spend days watching TikToks of people at school plugging in phone chargers, dropping pennies, and causing explosions in the back of class.
Who the hell thought of this challenge? Who the hell woke up and just say, I want to see if I can make a penny connect to a charger and what would happen.
Which unsurprisingly is dumb, but also dangerous. In the most tame examples of people performing this trend, the outcome would only be sparks and electrical shortage. However, in more extreme examples, full-blown electrical fires were started, smoke coming out of outlets, electrical outlets melting, and walls being covered in black tar, and classrooms needing to be evacuated. And I say classrooms specifically because nearly every video I watched about this challenge was once again
happened at a damn school.
A place where kids felt like they could just, light off bombs and get away with it, I guess.
I'm starting to see why these other countries have now started issuing a whole social media ban for anybody under 18. I think that's the age cutoff. They can't have no TikTok, Instagram, none of that stuff. Facebook, they can barely have a YouTube. They cutting them off on all that stuff because of shit like this.
Beyond the obvious stupidity of this challenge, there's truly not much more to say besides, I suppose, the danger or craziness aspect of it, which really isn't too crazy compared to some of the things we're going to discuss, but there is a very real opportunity for danger when performing this challenge, as a full-blown house fire is an extremely likely outcome if only a few sparks went in the wrong direction. Now, fortunately, that wasn't the case in most instances, but that doesn't mean that numerous students were at least suspended, expelled, or even charged for arson as a result of this completely dumb prank. Honestly, Honestly, there's not too much more to say about it because it is extremely simple. And it's my opinion that the reason that this trend took off was because it was so easy to perform, and the result was a rather dramatic visual display. However, the ends don't justify the means here, because as I stated, intentionally shorting an electrical supply, specifically in a public place, is not only dangerous, but it's also illegal. And some kids that were dumb enough to try this challenge learned one or both of those lessons the hard way. Oh, and I guess as a little bit of a bonus for this first section, there was also a similar challenge going on around the same time that was known as the Chromebook challenge. And
I
all
remember
this
that.
challenge involved was a school-provided Chromebook and a metal object. And how this challenge would be performed is you take your Chromebook, take your metal object, and put the metal object in the charge port of the Chromebook. And once again, similarly to the outlet challenge, the results were dramatic and in some cases outright dangerous. Videos online of people participating in this challenge show devices begin to spark, smoke, or in some cases even catch on fire. And these fires have reportedly melted charge ports, burnt desks, and generally done enough damage to the Chromebook itself and school property to charge students with property destruction, or in some cases, similar to the outlet challenge, arson. So yeah, like I said, this is one of the more tame challenges we're going to discuss, but it's no less brain dead. Because sure, making a fireball with a penny may seem cool, and it's definitely funny to see on a TikTok, but the reality of the situation after your 2 seconds of fame on TikTok ends is a much darker reality I hope none of you have experienced.
And I bet you a lot of them didn't even get paid for those stupid ass videos, which I'm not saying that monetization makes this morally right or a good thing to do if they got paid for it. It's still stupid as hell. But a lot of them was just getting, like you said, 15 minutes of fame, and then they got to face consequences that they can't even pay for.
Let's move on. Okay, so far we've talked about a lot of dumb things people have actually done. But ironically, I really quickly want to talk about something that's smart that people unfortunately don't do enough. And that's see a doctor, which is why.
What?
And now let's get back to the stupidity of internet trends. The door kicking challenge. In the first section, we talked about people intentionally doing damage to public property. However, in this section, the door kicking challenge turns it up a notch. Because in this very bright internet trend, what people do is intentionally damage private property, which not only comes with stricter repercussions, but also comes with a lot more danger, for reasons we'll get into. If you're watching this video and are a similar age to me, or probably any age, you likely at some point in your life have gone ding-dong ditching, or at least that's what we called it where I'm from. That pre-internet challenge consisted of going to somebody's house, knocking on the door, running away, hiding in a bush somewhere, and waiting for them to come outside for them to see, well, nobody at their door. And if you were extra crazy, you would do it once or twice more as well. And that was basically the extent of ding-dong ditching. Harmless, funny, but as an adult, I see how it is annoying. Although, Ring cameras, I think, have more or less destroyed this entire hobby, which might be a good thing. Now, the door kick challenge differs a bit from ding-dong ditching, because in this internet trend, you're not simply knocking on somebody's front door. What you're doing is you're filming yourself donkey kicking someone's front door and running away. The major difference between these two activities, if you couldn't already tell, is that a donkey kick, A, does a lot more damage, B, is a lot more threatening to anybody inside the house, and C, filming yourself doing this only adds to the case going to be built against
They got a
once
tripod
charges are
set up.
inevitably laid. I honestly have no idea when knocking on the door became not enough and having to literally kick the door became the new standard for ding-dong.
Because these kids are bored. They don't have no imagination. Half of them don't want to read books, man. I sound like an old head. But yeah, they just bored and ain't got shit else to do, so they just coming up with all these crazy ass challenges.
Ditching, but the fact that people not only up the ante and also film themselves, to me, is once again mind-boggling. However, when you're discussing internet or TikTok trends, you're not necessarily discussing the brightest bunch. And while this trend may seem extremely simple, the repercussions are definitely not. Because since this trend had gained popularity in the late 2010s and early 2020s, videos have of course gone viral online, and gullible children who partook in this challenge got in some serious hot water. As of today, several teenagers have already faced criminal charges for participating in this brainless prank. And some of the charges that have been placed on kids trying to be funny or go viral are the following: trespassing, vandalism, and even attempted burglary. Those charges alone are nothing to play with. But on top of the legal repercussions that kids have faced from doing this challenge, you also have to recognize the possible violent repercussions from homeowners. I'm not sure where you're watching this video from in the world, but I know there's at least a handful of you that are watching this that are saying, if this happened at my house, the first thing I'm doing is grabbing my gun. And because this trend was popular in the United States, that was the reality for a lot of homeowners. Now, part of this trend was after you kick the door, you leave. So fortunately, there wasn't many violent altercations taking place. However, if you were taking place in the door kicking challenge and happened to still be in the sightline of somebody who was armed and assuming that you were trying to break into their home, you may be leaving that property with more holes than you entered with. And I'm not saying that's necessarily right or wrong, but I'm saying that that's just a fact. If you go to somebody's property at night, donkey kick their door, in some case literally breaking the lock and opening it, it, I wouldn't say it's unfair for a homeowner to assume their house is being broken into. Just imagine how terrifying that can be. In my case, I actually can. Before I even knew this challenge was a thing, I literally had been more or less of the victim of this prank. I was at one of my friends' houses. We were having a big event for one of my friend's birthdays. The house was probably full with 20 people. And near the end of the night, we were all sitting in his living room when we heard a massive bang at the front door. It was late at night. This bang was not normal. It wasn't windy out, and we knew something was seriously wrong. Me and all my friends stood up. Instantly, we were terrified, but assumed a position. And the first thing we did was go and check out the front door. Fortunately, the door was locked. We unlock it, we open it, and nobody was there. But we noticed a massive footprint on the front door. My first thought was that somebody tried to kick down the door, failed, and ran off. But my friend who owned the home said that this was likely a kid trying to pull a prank and not to worry about it. And then he pulled up his Ring camera, saw the footage of the kid donkey kicking the door and running away, and well, we had a bit of a laugh about it, but we were all still rather irritated and on edge for the rest of the night. I think I've already given the door kicking challenge too much time as it is, because it is extremely simple and, well, I really don't need to explain how it's dumb and in some cases dangerous. But I will add a bit of a bonus as well, because similar to the door kicking challenge, there was also a similar trend that was going on, I feel like in 2023, 2024, known as the Kool-Aid Man challenge. In this challenge, you would typically run through somebody's fence, usually late at night, usually while drunk, and the sole goal was to break a hole in the fence and then move on with your day. For this trend, I didn't find too many examples of people filming themselves doing it. However, there is so many examples on security footage of people walking typically drunkenly down the sidewalk at night, seeing a fence, and then just deciding to run through it and continue on with their stroll. Unsurprisingly, this challenge, like the door kicking challenge, has also resulted in numerous charges being laid on teens and young adults thinking they're funny and getting a serious reality check. The Tide Pod Challenge. If you hadn't have heard of any of the other trends in this video so far, you've definitely heard of this one. And some of you may be thinking, the Tide Pod Challenge, that wasn't real, that was a joke. People didn't actually do that. And well, you're technically kind of right. The Tide Pod food meme definitely started with a satirical nature. People were posting pictures on Twitter and Reddit and other social medias of food with Tide Pods as a topping. Ironic and innocent enough. However, this joke quickly grew
took it to
from
another
fantasy
level
to reality. Specifically, when people decided that, sure, a picture of it on a pizza is silly, but what if I actually tried to eat it? And this thought process and the eventual videos that came out of this thought process led to an internet trend that, well, unfortunately swept the nation. The Tide Pod Challenge itself initially started circulating in the late 2010s, unsurprisingly among kids who had seen other viral videos and aspired to make their own viral videos, specifically of eating a Tide Pod. These videos weren't only exclusive to TikTok, they were kind of everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, they were being shared everywhere because of how ridiculous they were, and the whole point of the video was to kind of just film yourself trying to eat a Tide Pod and getting a reaction. Your face of how you were trying to chew it, your face when you actually had the flavor and the, well, detergent in your mouth, and the rather disgusting aftermath of trying to get detergent out of your mouth and hopefully not out of your stomach. Similar to the whole outlet challenge, I feel like this challenge really took off because of how accessible it was to anybody. Like, if you're a kid in your mom's basement and you just happen to be scrolling TikTok and you saw somebody with 1 million likes eating a Tide Pod and spitting it out, well, all you would have to do is to go in the laundry room, get a Tide Pod, film yourself doing it, and boom, you're just as cool as that guy. And it's, in my opinion, because of this ease of access that this entire trend became as big as it eventually did. And while this challenge may seem simple and innocent enough, the outcomes were anything but that. Taking a step backwards, you kind of have to understand that the reason why the Tide Pod Challenge was even viral in the first place was because Tide Pods were so obviously inedible and, well, toxic. Like, there was a reason there was no Apple Challenge because, well, biting into an apple and eating it is, well, normal. But swap that apple for a toxic Tide Pod, and now you have some content. Tide Pods themselves may be bright colored, smell good, and look like candy. However, they were the furthest thing from that. And even small amounts of exposure from the chemicals within Tide Pods could lead to chemical burns, seizures, difficulty breathing, and even severe poisoning in extreme cases. It's been reported that between 2016 and 2020, in the United States alone, there was over 35,000 emergency room visits of children.
What the hell? It was that many kids that did it? Wow. And that's just the ones who got sick. That ain't even counting the ones who survived doing this crazy bullshit. Man, hell no.
Under the age of 18 due to the Tide Pod Challenge. And in 12.5% of those 35,000 cases, hospitalization was required. And I feel like that just kind of goes to show the power of scale. Because yeah, sure, it may seem innocent enough to some that, oh, I just bit this inedible thing, I spit it out, I took the video, that's it. But when you have millions of people doing it, even if only 0.1% of people have an extreme, unfortunate incident, well, that still leads to thousands upon thousands of people, as we saw, in the hospital because of Tide Pods. The Tide Pod epidemic itself got so bad, in fact, that in 2018, New York State introduced legislation that aimed to ban candy-style detergent pods to prevent further damages to children. I really wish that was a joke, but unfortunately, that's a fact. And it's crazy to believe that legislators literally had to try to come up with an idea on how to prevent children from eating Tide Pods. And I suppose there is an argument to be made about, well, the Tide Pods looking candy-like, I suppose. But the reality is, the challenge and trend itself were undoubtedly the reason that so many vulnerable and gullible children were partaking and, unfortunately, in some cases, hurting themselves. And while we don't know the true extent of how many people in total have tried to consume a Tide Pod, the fact alone that there was 35,000 hospital visits associated with Tide Pods is enough information to know that this challenge was truly detrimental of the bored youth of the late 2010s. The Fire Challenge. If I told you that there was a viral internet trend that consisted of simply setting yourself on fire, would you believe me? Obviously not, right? This is
I remember
obviously
this
the
crazy
digital
ass
equivalent
shit.
of saying, hey, if your friends jumped off a bridge, would you too? It's a rhetorical question that has an obvious answer. No. But what if I told you that the Fire Challenge was unfortunately a very real and very viral internet trend? And it was exactly as dumb as it sounded. The Fire Challenge is actually one of the older internet trends that we've discussed so far. And the mainstream popularity of this trend kind of emerged in the early 2010s. The videos of people participating in this challenge were simple. Put something flammable on your hand, typically rubbing alcohol or hand sanitizer, light it on fire, look at the cool flames, and then put it out. Obviously dumb, but
now, see, I ain't gonna sit here and cap like we didn't do this back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, that was one of the things that my oldest cousin showed me. He act like he was doing a magic trick the whole time. He had rubbing alcohol on his hand and he, sparked it up. So we tried it, but this trend that he finna show is way more extreme than us just lighting our hands, pretending like we throwing fireballs and stuff. Good old day.
Seemingly simple enough. However, as we've already seen, results and outcomes may vary. In the early 2010s, the challenge started small, people putting a little bit of rubbing alcohol in the palm of their hand to light it, and then put it out. And as these videos gained popularity, people kept raising the ante more and more. Instead of putting rubbing alcohol in the palm of their hand, they would cover their entire hand. Instead of covering their entire hand, they would cover their arm in it. And it even got to the point where people were putting rubbing alcohol on their entire body, lighting themselves on fire for a TikTok, and then attempting to put themselves out, sometimes unsuccessfully. It's my belief once again that this challenge truly took off because of the reasons we've discussed previously. Similar to the Outlet Challenge, it was visibly dramatic, and similar to the Tide Pod Challenge, it was easily accessible. Any kid who was scrolling on Vine at the time or TikTok in the more modern times could watch somebody set themselves on fire and go, my mom has rubbing alcohol in the bathroom, she has a lighter beside her candle, I can do this right now and go viral. And unfortunately, that's what happened for a lot of kids. I'm sure at least some of you, and maybe even most of you, have seen videos online of people doing this challenge and unfortunately failing miserably, as there is a lot of viral videos of people partaking in this challenge and it just simply didn't go well. Fortunately, in most of these examples, these people at least had a quarter of a brain because they would perform this challenge in the shower. But even in those cases, it wasn't a foolproof plan, because I can remember from memory a video of a guy in a shower covered in rubbing alcohol, setting himself on fire, and before he could even put himself out, he falls, knocks over the alcohol, sets the entire bathroom on fire, and just leaves the bathroom before even turning the shower on. And while you don't see the aftermath of that video, I can only imagine it was detrimental. Most of the viral videos surrounding the Fire Challenge don't show the outcome, but some of the more unfortunate results include severe burns, infections from those burns, permanent scarring, and in some cases, even death. And reported deaths have happened because of this challenge. One of the more recent examples took place in 2023, when an Arizona teen named Corey Lee suffered burns on more than half of his body as a result of the Fire Challenge. Corey specifically was trying to do a variation of the Fire Challenge known as the Fireball Challenge, where you don't even set yourself on fire, you simply try to create a homemade fireball. I truly don't think I need to go into too much more detail on why it's not smart and obviously dangerous to literally set yourself on fire, but I did want to add more context around the whole Fire Challenge because, believe it or not, this was a pretty widespread trend and it also has had resurgences over the last decade. And unfortunately, as we've seen, children are still dying in the 2020s due to the lack of education around these seemingly innocent but unfortunately deadly internet trends. the milk crate challenge. This TikTok
Classic.
epidemic was likely the result of pandemic boredom. In case you've never heard of the milk crate challenge, you don't have to eat a milk crate or you don't have to fit your body into a milk crate. The milk crate challenge basically involves creating a sort of pyramid-based structure out of milk crates and then trying to cross it successfully. The challenge kind of blew up initially in 2021 on TikTok, and these viral videos showed people either successfully crossing super tall milk crate pyramids or in most cases getting about halfway up the pyramid only to then lose balance and have the entire milk crate pyramid fall over and, well, the video would end. These viral clips were funny to watch, seeming like just a regular fail video, somebody falling down, haha, whatever. But once again, with a desire for views comes upping the ante, and that's exactly what happened. The milk crate challenge quickly grew bigger and bigger, with people building taller pyramids on more unsteady surfaces. And of course, with this increased danger and height,
by a spiked
no
fucking
increase in
fence.
safety precautions, unfortunately leading to more virality, further feeding the beast. The milk crate challenge, unlike some of the other challenges we've discussed, is a bit different because it's not necessarily only a feat of bravery, it's also a feat of physical endurance. To some, the milk crate challenge was nearly an Olympic level display of balance, speed, precision, and ultimately stupidity. Because it's no secret that milk crates are not the most sturdy structure, especially when you stack them 10 tall and stand on them while moving relatively quickly. And of course, the result of this
He was up celebrating until he bust his ass.
Challenge was the following. Between 2020 and 2021 alone, there was over 8,100 emergency room visits as a direct result from this trend. And the most common injury associated with this trend was concussions, broken bones, and even paralysis in extreme cases.
What?
While at a first glance, the milk crate challenge kind of just seems like a game show that
Imagine getting paralyzed because you did a challenge. Oh, that's a terrible existence. I don't think I could. My mind wouldn't be able to handle that. I'd be beating myself up every day. Like, man, I could full-body human being. I didn't take my stupid black ass on them damn crates for a challenge. Jesus.
you can build in your own backyard, you know, basically a mini redneck America's Ninja Warrior. Absolutely nobody participating in this challenge got a prize, unless you consider a concussion a prize. But I personally wouldn't. Interestingly, my whole philosophy of access doesn't necessarily apply here, at least not in my personal experience, because sure, it's easy enough to build a milk crate pyramid, but who has like 20, 30, 40, 50 milk crates? Maybe that's just a Canadian thing because we put our milk in bags, but I personally have never experienced in my childhood or adult life an abundance of milk crates. Or
you in Canada, in America, especially in the hood, which is why it's probably a lot more black people in these videos, milk crates come a dime a dozen, especially if you stay near a hood store. They'll give you them bitches. They don't care. They getting ready to throw them away anyway. So when they done emptying the crates and stocking their stores, they just sit in the outside in the back. So yeah, it ain't nothing to get a bunch of crates. And you got cousins and uncles who work at warehouses, chicken plants and shit with crates. So yeah.
desire to climb them in an unsafe manner. I feel like to some people it may seem controversial to put the milk crate challenge as more crazy than the fire challenge, but the reason why I did this was because the fire challenge was at least obviously dumb, and you would truly have to be hungry for attention or a brain to try it for yourself. However, the milk crate challenge seemed a bit more innocent, and I would argue that it's for that reason it ultimately resulted in more injuries and death, which is why, in my opinion, it's likely more crazy. But speaking of crazy, it's crazy that nearly 75% of you are watching this video right now and are not subscribed. We
Go
just
sub
2 million
up.
subscribers. We post fire videos every Friday, and we're now on the road to 2 million subscribers. If you like the videos I make, well, be a bro and subscribe. Now let's get to our next challenge. The blackout challenge. At this point in the video, you're probably thinking to yourself, if they made a challenge called the eat poop and jump off the roof challenge, people would do it. And you're probably not wrong. However, I did want to show a bit of sympathy for this next challenge because although it is relatively obviously dangerous, it's also one of the more innocent seeming challenges that has led to the unfortunate demise of so many innocent children. The blackout challenge, or the choking game, might be the oldest challenge on this entire video and actually predates the entire internet itself. I'm going to be focusing on the blackout challenge specifically, although although the choking game has a similar goal, similar execution, and similar outcome. The entire point of the blackout challenge is to restrict oxygen flow to the brain, specifically to feel a state of euphoria and to also nearly lose consciousness without fully losing it. In the pre-internet times during the choking game, people would typically do this with their friends to experience the feeling of having that restricted oxygen flow to the brain. However, in more recent times, people would do this with their friends and film it to gain popularity online to show the reaction to essentially losing consciousness and literally losing brain cells. How the blackout challenge would typically work is one person would essentially take a deep breath in while another person would simultaneously give them a strong bear hug from behind until that person passed out from a lack of oxygen. Typically, as a result of this lack of oxygen, people would fall over and act drunk for a few moments before regaining consciousness. And these videos would go viral specifically among young people because of how crazy the effects were. Now, here's the deal. Some young people watching these videos just thought it was cool to see somebody act so weird and thought it was, almost like a morbid curiosity. However, some young people were very curious to have this experience for themselves, seeing it almost as a way to get high without doing drugs or alcohol. And this is a major dangerous factor in this entire challenge, because young people seeing people do this online gave them a false sense of security that, oh, I'll feel funny or dizzy, but I'll be fine right after, and everybody online's doing it, so I can do it. When in reality, it's actually that false sense of confidence that provides so much risk. Not necessarily to one individual particularly, but because, once again, with scale, more people are trying it, there's more opportunities for things to go wrong. And go wrong, they did. You see, believe it or not, oxygen deprivation in the brain is extremely dangerous. And even brief interruptions of oxygen in your brain can cause seizure, long-term brain damage, heart complications, and even death in more ways than one. With the most common cause of death being asphyxiation, however, the second most common cause of death was actually head injury. That's because in some cases, people trying this challenge would lose consciousness and then fall and hit
flat
their
on
head,
the floor.
in some cases either causing instant death or an injury that resulted in death not long after, which is just heartbreaking. The whole blackout challenge has claimed victims as young as 10 years old. And it's simply all because people saw it online, they thought it was safe, they thought it was a way that they could just feel silly for a few moments, when in reality, it's not that you just feel dizzy and silly, you are literally depriving your most important organ of its most important nutrient. And sure, the videos online may seem silly, but attempting to do this yourself is literally putting your life at risk. However, the target audience of this challenge was, for the most part, unaware of that fact. And the results, as we've discussed and seen, have truly been unfortunate. And that's kind of one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to make this video. A, to discuss some truly ludicrous and just outrageous trends that people have actually done, and also to try to hopefully spread some awareness. If you see people doing something online that seems dangerous or looks dumb, it probably is, and you probably shouldn't do it. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna say, in basically no case should you do something you see people doing online. Not to be grandpa bro, but if we've learned anything from this video, it's that, well, internet challenges are not your friend. And I guess before we get to the last entry of this video, I just want to say, if you guys have enjoyed this video about crazy internet trends, unfortunately, there is many more that I could discuss, and I obviously couldn't fit them all in one video. So if you guys want a part 2 to this video, leave a like below, or just leave a comment saying part 2, and I would be more than happy to make that video for you. But with that being said, let's move on to the last entry of this video, the Kia Challenge.
The
So
Kia
far in this
challenge.
video, we've discussed challenges that are either destructive to others' property or your personal body. But this final entry on this list is a challenge that does both. The Kia Challenge started on TikTok in roughly 2022, and it was started by a group of teenagers who later became known as the Kia Boys. And the Kia Boys went viral because they were posting videos of themselves seemingly non-stop of them breaking into Kia and Hyundai vehicles using simple tools, starting them in under a minute, and then joyriding them in the most dangerous and dumb ways. I'm assuming most of you have seen or at least heard of the Kia Boys, but if you haven't, well, you're in for a treat. Like I mentioned, in the early 2020s, it was discovered that almost every Kia and Hyundai model had a major flaw. There was no engine immobilizer, meaning that if you had very basic tools and, well, very basic knowledge, you could break into these cars, start them, and you had a brand new car at your disposal. And with how popular Kia and Hyundai models have been in recent years, the Kia Boys and anybody wanting to try the Kia Challenge basically had instant access to the focal point of this challenge. Obviously, when these videos started popping up on TikTok around 2022, they were going extremely viral because of how insane they were. Kids were breaking into random Kias, starting them within a minute, joyriding them in the most dangerous of ways, typically speeding, hanging out the side of them, ramming into their vehicles, and then just ditching them and doing it all again. Sometimes numerous times in the same night. Obviously, I don't think I need to go into excruciating detail on why people with no license driving stolen cars at reckless speeds in neighborhoods is dangerous to literally everybody, but Well, in case you're missing part of your brain yourself, the biggest dangers associated with this challenge are, of course, danger to roadgoers, danger to pedestrians, danger to the people that are in the cars, whether they be the burglar or people that are simply friends with the burglar that simply thought a joyride could be fun. And on top of the potential loss of life or injury that could be caused out of the stupidity, of course, we
Jail
have
time.
property damage. Obviously, we have the individual that is likely just trying to get by, who has just had their car damaged and stolen, but we also have all of the property damage caused by these joyrides that typically hit other vehicles, street signs, power poles, mailboxes, you name it, a Kia Boy, Kia car has hit it. And it seemed like in 2022, there was simply no stopping the Kia Boys, and these videos were viral. Not only videos from the Kia Boys themselves, but also videos of people trying it, news clips of the news covering the Kia Boys, and even interviews with the Kia Boys from different YouTubers. The whole Kia Boys trend and phenomenon became so popular that even TikTok got backlash for even hosting the content of these people doing it. And this trend was simply one of those trends that, while it's crazy to assume that somebody can be inspired to just steal a car by watching a video, because of how viral and prevalent this whole trend and phenomenon was, there was a massive spike of Grand Theft Autos during this time, which led to a plethora of viral videos, a plethora of injuries, a handful of deaths, and ultimately massive reform for automakers to ensure that this would never happen again. I think the overarching theme on this entire video is the fact that, sure, it may be interesting or shocking or even funny to see one of these videos online, somebody eating a Tide Pod or setting themselves on fire or falling off a milk crate. But what I really wanted to highlight in this video is that, sure, the 5 seconds you see may be shocking or funny or crazy, but the reality of that situation is much more dangerous than you could ever assume. Not only because the person you saw in that video might be permanently injured, but also because the video that you saw and thought was funny, somebody else saw and thought was inspiring. And well, their lack of education and misplaced inspiration could have led to serious bodily harm. But yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but if there's a TikTok trend you see, don't do it. Don't destroy other people's property. Don't set yourself on fire, and don't eat laundry detergent or anything in this video. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all from me. And if you enjoyed this video about the craziest internet trends, check out the video on screen right now. It's a video I made about things that got banned because one person ruined it. It's another
W video, man. Message out to the parents. Watch what your kids are watching. A lot of this stuff with young people watching other young people do stupid shit and getting inspired. So yeah, monitor your kids closely when it comes to this internet shit, man. They can be inspired to do some very outrageous, outlandish, and dangerous crap. But yeah, man, it's your boy T. Make sure y'all go to Trust Me Bro and subscribe, like the video, tell them that your boy TNT sent you. And if you're new to my channel, subscribe, like, comment, and share with your people. And it's your boy TNT with Try Nitro X, and I am out.